alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day and welcome to another interesting and enthralling episode of the Whiteblood PANORAMA, a show that tries to dissect national burning issues on your favorite channel, Whiteblood Multimedia. I'm your host, Umar Isa Dandago. Well, as the ASU strike reaches its 6th month, and with the public university students stranded at home with no hope of going back to their campuses, and with the elections just around the corner, how likely is it for some politicians to take advantage of that and use the students to get what they want? This and many more will thoroughly be discussed and analyzed on the show. Plus, is it true that the government has been so reluctant to come to a resolution with the university lecturers simply because it's encouraging the proliferation of private universities across the country? And what about the decision of some state governments to force their universities to come back to work? Has it been deliberately done to weaken the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that's ASU? Well, this and many more will be on our radar on today's discussion. And to discuss them, I am joined in the studio by a journalist, public affairs analyst, and a researcher, Malam Aminu Naganye. Thank you very much indeed for being on the show.
Thank you very much, Malam.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I have to say that you are a journalist and you're also a researcher and a public affairs analyst. So which means a lot of issues will be, well, I can say objectively analyzed, not from a political point of view, but from a journalistic point of view. But anyway, even from a humanitarian point of view, those issues are really, really important to look at, especially given the fact that you are a university student once, and thank God you finished with a very good result from Mass Communication Department by University Kano. I wanted to indicate that in the introduction. Once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
To kick us all off, what do you have to say about well, the students now stranded at home, having nothing to do? How do you see it?
Well, it's rather unfortunate that the university students have been at home out of their school for the past 6 months or so, since I think February this year, when the Academic Staff Union of Universities embarked on an industrial action to press for some demands to improve funding and of course revitalize the Nigeria's university, especially public university system. Well, we'll look at it from different angles. But first of all, this strike, the Academic Staff Union of Universities said this is the only way they have at their disposal, or the only means they have at their disposal to tell the government this is what we want. And at that particular instance, the government understands only the language of strike. So for that, the academics actually decided to be on the strike. On the other hand, the government, from so many experiences we've had in the past, only respond to some extent positively to the needs of Nigerian universities whenever the universities are closed down. Because if you ask them, okay, this is our demands, this is what we want, this is what we want to do to improve Nigerian university system, the government will always be dragging. They will always be dragging. They will never do the right thing. So, but whenever the universities are on a strike, that is when the government will now try to put some things on the table to be able to reopen universities so that our students can continue with their learning.
But there is, I'm sorry to cut you off, but there is this argument from the side of the students and the public in general that why should ASU have been embarking on this strike number without time? From 1999 to date, there has been more than 10, close to 15 or 20 strikes, and then it kept on yielding not so positive result. But why should they have been doing the same thing while they know that is not going to give what they want?
Well, thank you very much. You see, we can even say strike in Nigerian university system dates back to 80s. It didn't start in the 90s. It started probably since 80s. Now, we cannot clearly say there are no results. Of course, there are results of the strike struggle. Now, if you look at the Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TED Fund, which was ETF before it was later transformed into TED Fund, it was the struggle of the academic staff that gave birth to the TED Fund. And if you go to any public university, not only public university, but any public higher institution in Nigeria, you will see a lot of projects, capital project going on, research project going on, staff training and development in all over the world, in America, in US, in China, everywhere, being sponsored by TED Fund. So TED Fund is one of the success story of ASU struggle.
Okay.
Of course, the struggle has made enormous impact in Nigeria's university system. If you look at our primary school system, if you look at our secondary school system, they have collapsed. If you look at our health sector, it's not actually functioning the way it should. But even if there are many challenges, even if there are many problems, but you will appreciate the fact that our universities are still trying their best, given the circumstances, doing things that are making the university to stand out in the world today is because of the struggle of the ASU. So for that, of course, we will appreciate the fact that ASU has done well to some extent on that regard.
So you are saying, yeah.
The point is, we will not continue to be, following the same path, doing everything over and over again, doing the same thing over and over again for countless number of times, and to expect a different result. What am I trying to say? That actually, if you ask me to choose between federal government and ASU, definitely I am pro ASU. I will go for ASU because if you look at the key issues that ASU is talking about, is more or less of public interest. One, they want funding for Nigerian public universities. They want a better working environment. They want a better learning environment. And of course, they want a situation where a Nigerian university will compete favorably with the university anywhere in the world. And for you to do that, there are certain things that you have to do. And for you to do that, certain things have to be in place. The lecturer will not be able to reach out to satisfaction or to understanding of every student. So for that, it is the argument of ASU that there should be infrastructure that will accommodate the number of students that we have in Nigerian universities.
Meaning more buildings, more theaters.
Of course, we need them.
More lecture halls.
We need them. That is the idea of saying that Nigerian universities should be given 200 billion naira every year, at least for 5 to 6 years, so that Nigerian universities can be, revitalized.
What do you say to those people who are saying, well, ASU is just looking for money from the federal government to for their own selfish interest? Look at the primary school teachers, look at the secondary school teachers. They're not getting half of what the university lecturers are getting. They shouldn't be thankful to God for having what they are getting, earning what they are earning.
I don't agree with that. Okay. I don't agree with that ASU is struggling for itself. Of course, if you look at the core issues that ASU is talking about, there are issues of salary, there are issues of academic allowance. Of course, there are other issues that will directly benefit, the members of academic staff. But then there are so many other issues that would definitely benefit the Nigerian society, Nigerian education system, and the Nigerian student. First of all, if that 200 billion naira is given, it's not going to ASU. That money is going to the university, and the university is going to use the money to build infrastructure, to build road, to build theater, to build laboratories, to procure books, to procure journals. Do you understand? For the use of the university community. That's one. Two, if you look at the issue of our funding, the issue of in 2020 or thereabout, there was a committee, I think, headed by Professor Babalakin. I couldn't recall whether, I think it's Professor Babalakin. They recommended that for them to solve this problem of strike in Nigerian universities, the committee recommended that a science-based student, undergraduate in Nigerian university, should pay not less than 500,000 naira as tuition. Yes, then an art student should pay not less than 350,000.
So like me, who is a level 300 studying mass communication at BUK,
Of course.
I would be paying 300,000 naira.
Of course.
per
That
year.
was the argument. That was the recommendation by Professor Babalakin committee.
Okay.
But it was ASU who stood their ground and said, no, we will never take this. This is not going to happen. The education for Nigerian people is a right.
Yeah.
It's not a privilege.
Yeah, of course.
Therefore, they cannot afford, because if they say they agree with that, they will get better pay, they will get better funding, and so many other things.
So,
but the students, so many of the students will not be able to afford will not be able to afford university education.
are you
So
saying that when the university system
ASU
is
rejected that.
privatized, it would be more at the advantage of the university lecturers?
Of course, because as a lecturer, you definitely get better pay.
Okay, when a student pays 300 plus thousand
of
naira.
course.
Okay.
But that struggle is not just for ASU's benefit. It is for Nigeria. And if ASU relax, definitely it's going to have a serious consequences on Nigerian education system and of course on the Nigerian populace, especially the poor people.
Okay, so I want you to emphasize on this issue. Is it true that issue of privatization and commercialization of the university system, is it a genuine information? It's not a rumor?
Well, we need to understand something.
Yeah.
When we're talking about commercialization, we're talking about the public universities to be commercialized, to be charged, to be charging tuition as very high rate. Now, when you're talking about privatization, you're talking about entirely privately owned universities, of which we have in Nigeria. We have, I think, more than 100 private universities in Nigeria as of today. Now, the point is, federal government also rejected, as I said earlier, the commercialization. But that did not stop private universities from springing up. So we have a number of them, and even here in Kano, I think we have more than 5 or 7
Yes, of course.
private
And more are
universities in
coming.
Kano, and more are coming, and it's everywhere in the country.
Yes.
So the idea is,
but is it a good idea? I'm sorry to cut you off. Is it a good idea to have more private universities in a state like Kano than public universities?
well, ideally, when you're talking about the ideal, I would prefer a very standard, competitive public university education anywhere, not only in Kano, but all over the country. But we need to be realistic. We need to be, pragmatics. The public university that we have in Kano State, we only have 3. The Bayero University Kano, Kano State University of Science and Technology Udo, then we have Yusuf Maitamasule University. These 3 universities, public universities, cannot accommodate the number of students that we have in Kano into them.
It's true, of course.
So there is a need, of course, to have private universities so that they can accommodate people that want to go to university education, but there are no spaces for them at these 3 public universities. So in that context, there is nothing wrong with private universities.
Okay, so when we have a proliferation of private universities in Nigeria or in Kano, to be particular, it would be more to the advantage of the poor people, because the rich people will not send their children to public universities but to the private universities, and then which will give the opportunity for the poor people to send their kids to public universities.
Well,
is that what has happened?
Well, I am afraid I wouldn't want to say that, and I will not succumb to this argument. Because when you say you want to create private university for the elites, for the rich people, now you are trying to demarcate the society. You are trying to create a social barrier. You are trying to widen the gap, the fissure between the haves and the have-not. Now, the implication is that people in government are already rich, and for them to take their children to private universities, that means they will abandon the public universities.
But isn't that what is happening in the country?
Of course,
you cannot see the son or the children of the politicians in public schools, either from primary up to universities. They are no longer there.
It's very rare.
Yeah, even the rich people are not sending their kids to public schools.
Yes,
they send them to the highest private universities that we have.
That's true. Even before the advent of the private universities in Nigeria, they normally send their children abroad. Yes, and up to now they do. They do their children to go and study in the UK, the US, and somewhere else. But the point is, as long as government is willing to do the right thing, there is nothing wrong with private university, so long the standard will be maintained.
That's correct.
The standard will not be sacrificed for money. The standard will not be abundant for profit making.
Yeah.
Then there is nothing wrong with private university. If you go to other countries in the US, for example, they have a lot of private. Even the best university in the world is private. Harvard.
Oh, so Harvard is private?
Harvard is private university.
Oh, that's great.
Private
yes.
university.
So there's nothing wrong, and still the system is great.
Of course.
That's why it produces a lot of intelligent
but
people.
My only concern here is that this strike has become a recurrent issue in the Nigerian university system, and people are being, are getting tired.
Yes.
Are getting tired. So the call is on the government, especially because I blame the government more than the ASU. Of course, I have problem with ASU. Of course, I agree. I must accept that they have legitimate, concerns. They have legitimate demands. They have issues.
Yeah.
Issue of funding, issue of better pay, issue of improving the working environment. Issue of giving the necessary attention to the education, especially university education, by the government. These are all legitimate demands, and of course, the IPPIS issue, it actually does not capture the peculiarities of the university system. So, upon all their demands, I agree with them. I'm 100% with them. But the only problem I have with them is the way and manner they approach, the way and manner they try to get these demands met.
Okay.
For example, you have been doing strike for over 30 years as a union, and things are not changing. What do you do?
So are you saying
You have
they should
to, yes, of course, they have to think
create
out of
another
the box
means?
and create another means. For example, we have this false sense of feeling that Nigeria is a rich country. Nigeria is never a rich country. Nigeria is not a rich country. Nigeria is not a rich country. Nigeria is just an oil-endowed country. But if you look at the per capita, what is the GDP of Nigeria? Is 430 something billion US dollars. And if you look at the GDP per capita, if you look at it per head, per individual, our population is over 200 million people.
Yeah.
So you discover that our population or our GDP is per capita is just 2,500 at most per head. So if you compare with other developed countries, you discover that we are very poor. So if you say you want a university education, and the government, being as reckless as it is creating universities over and over again. As I'm talking to you now, we have I think around 47 or 49 federal universities in Nigeria. Yes, we have around 57 to 59 state universities. And as I'm talking to you now, in the National Assembly, there is proposal for the creation of another 26 universities.
Is it not a development?
So no. It's not development.
So how is it not a development?
Because where is the fund? Where is the money? Where is the resources to ensure that these universities run themselves as universities, not as glorified secondary schools?
So glorified secondary schools. So whose fault is this? The fault of ASU?
ASU has its own fault. You can't be going on strike all the time to say that is the only means you can apply.
Okay. Yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah, of course.
I always suggest that look at the protest that we did, because I participated in the nationwide process by NLC.
By NLC, yeah.
That protest sent a very clear and concise message to the government.
Okay.
And of course, after that protest, we have seen some moves by the government, to try to do something.
Even though not strong.
Even though not strong. But at least half done is better than none. So we expect ASU, as intellectual as they are, with due respect to them, to have a kind of synergy with other Nigerians, because university system is not only for ASU. It is for Nigerians. It is for Nigeria. So we expect ASU to have a sort of synergy, a sort of collaboration with other unions, with the media, with civil society organizations, with parents, with students. Do you understand? So that there will be more pressure to the government or on the government to do the right thing, but to revamp Nigeria's education system or Nigerian university system.
But the ASU guys are saying that, hey, you the journalists are not doing what you should do in informing the people about what ASU is doing thereby, like, sometimes even the students are not fully informed about why ASU has been going on strike, and whether or not the strike has been for the benefit of the students.
You see, the issue is ASU, with all due respect, they have failed to leverage on the opportunity that information technology has brought to us. As I'm talking to you now, ASU does not have a single social media platform to be communicating, to be interacting with students, with other stakeholders.
Excuse me, what about that popular Twitter handle that we see, which has a lot of followers, thousands of followers?
It's not theirs. They disown it. It is somebody, whether that person is linked or not to ASU, but ASU clearly said it without times, so many times that that particular Twitter handle does not belong to ASU.
But it seems like it's producing information.
It's producing information, but ASU said it's not its own. So who are we to say it's ASU?
So it's a problem of ASU.
It's a problem of ASU.
Not
take advantage of this communication technology, interact with Nigerians, mobilize physically and online. When the students understand that, okay, this is what you are doing for us, they will come in. Parents will come in.
Yes.
Civil society will come in.
Yes.
Other unions will come in. Then when we join hands together, we will be able to fight for better funding. But you always go on strike. This strike will not change anything.
I'm gonna ask you.
And with the number of universities we have, public universities we have, I am telling you, if because of election is coming, so probably government will now quickly, swiftly make some concession, make some promises, and then they will now come and sign some agreement with us. But I'm telling you, if they sign agreement with us now, it's a political agreement, and the government will not, mark my word, the government will not fulfill it, and the government will release you on that promise.
So you personally don't have trust in the government? Yes or no?
I don't.
That's good.
And then, but the point is, despite the fact that I don't have trust on the government does not have enough resources to better fund the number of universities that we have to a globally competitive standard.
So if you were to be asked of a solution, would you say, ASU, please go back to school without getting the fund you are looking for from the government, or the commercialization is the best idea? Which one?
No, the issue is there are things like I would suggest that the government should work with the ASU to accept UTAS, to reject IPPIS. Okay. Do you understand? Then there should be better funding for the Nigerian university system. But you can't be. The other point you said.
I said commercialization.
Commercialization, of course, is not the best idea per se. But we are at a point. If we want to be realistic, if we want to be pragmatic, certain token need to be introduced into the Nigerian university system.
Okay.
Yes. For example,
as in more salaries.
For example, no, as in a kind of tuition.
Okay.
So, for example, if in BUK, the University of BUK standard, if you are in private university, you pay millions of naira. So in BUK, for us to be able to raise money, to stop relying 100% on the government, do you understand?
Yes.
The university should improve on its internally generated revenue.
As in how?
Yeah, wow.
We should be paying 50,000 naira or 100,000 naira?
Not really 50. Maybe something like, I would suggest something like 80 to 100,000 naira.
Which will definitely deny a lot of people their rights to be at university.
The point is,
a lot of people find it hard to pay the 40,000 or less than that naira per year.
The point is, university education anywhere in the world is not for everybody. That's why. Then it's not about
the students are watching.
It's not about.
Aren't you going to piss them off?
The issue is not about quantity. It's about quality. Okay, what is the essence of having 100 graduates that probably didn't even understand what they learn in the university?
But there are a lot of poor people, a lot of children of poor people that are brilliant and can be productive, but they don't have the money.
So in that regard, the universities themselves can identify those students and offer them scholarship. Then the government also on its own part can be given, scholarship for any bright student. Of course, we know this thing can be abused because of the way
politics and corruption
actually Nigeria operates. But then if you said you don't want to introduce money, now where is the money to run the universities? Do you understand? So we will end up going after every year or after every 2 years, we are going to 5 month strike. So the idea is you want standard education for free. It's not possible anywhere.
It's not free because we pay 40,000 naira, some even above 40,000 naira, depending on the department that you come from.
Will that money be able to run the university?
Given the number of the students that we have, a lot of people can say yes.
You see,
how many students are there at university?
We need to tell ourselves the truth. We need to tell ourselves the truth. You want, if you graduate, you want to be, in part because of the leverage of globalization and the ICT that we have, you can compete for a job offer with a graduate from Harvard, from Oxford, from Southern University, from everywhere.
Yeah,
now, if you don't receive quality education, how do you compete? If you are staying probably in a theater 800 in class, how will you compete with somebody that graduated from a university where the average ratio is 25:1? 25 students per 1 lecturer. How will you compete with them? So the point is,
you know it quite well that a lot of Nigerian students, when they go abroad, do excellently well in India, in the US, in the UK. We have been getting, we have been getting this report that when they go there, despite studying in this terrible condition that we are in, they still excel globally.
I agree with you. I agree with you. The point is, we want our own universities to be competing with those universities in America, those universities in India, those universities in Malaysia, those universities in Sweden, those universities in Poland, anywhere. Correct. That is what we are saying. But if we want to tell ourselves the truth, let me tell you this. Yeah. The entire budget of Nigerian government, not only for education, the entire budget of Nigerian government, which is, I think, around 17-point-something trillion naira. It's not, it's not more than budget of 10 universities in the US.
Wow.
Yes, because if you change the money into dollar, how much is it?
Yeah,
it should be around 40-something US dollars. Now, Harvard University alone, Stanford University alone has budget of around 8 billion US dollars.
Wow.
So if you want your student to compete with these universities, then the Nigerian government cannot afford it. Of course, we know our politicians are terrible. They are terribly thief per se in court.
Terrible
steal
lies.
Money, of course, they steal money. Them, they do everything. They abuse office and everything. But then, in a way, we help them to do what they are doing. If Nigerians can decide and say, okay, enough is enough, of course, they will strive. They can stop so many things. So the idea is ASU and federal government should have a common ground.
Yes.
And that common ground, even if they will not accept it now, in the long run must be accepted.
Yeah,
something must be paid as tuition fee in Nigerian universities.
Okay, so and let's hope the students will be able to afford. And I hope at the end of the day, the students that deserve to be there will be able to pay. Briefly, we have like 3 minutes to go. And I've got some comments from our viewers. Let me put them to you. I put a question out there to them. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy? And this person, Abubakar Abdullah Yusuf, aka Philosopher, says, I read a number of books. I read in present tense, a number of books ranging from philosophy, law, literature, history, biography, science to sharia. And one interesting thing, before we came on the show, you talked about community service before we came to the studio. He said that I tutored 30 students who were about to sit for SSCE and UTME, and alhamdulillah, most of whom have successfully got scores that will make them eligible for getting admitted to various universities. And that's good. Professor. Yes, Aminu Hassan Dayebu said, I did not stay at home doing nothing, but I have turned into a businessman within this month. I am now a blouse seller. That is, I sell football jerseys, trousers, singlets, handkerchiefs, etc. I also found Yes, and one part is that I have also found, as he said, handouts to read at home amidst this ASU strike.
That's good.
Abubakar Idris Kunya said, anything certainly in life must have advantages and disadvantages. There was a time when I was doing a diploma in Kano State Polytechnic. One of our lecturers asked us, who can mention 3 advantages of Boko Haram? Boko Haram, the insurgents, or some call them terrorists in the northeastern part of Nigeria.
Of course they are.
Yes. I was really surprised. Why is it that Boko Haram could have any advantages? So the point he's trying to make here is that he says this strike brings the door of opportunity to me. For me to expand my business through the diversification. Before I was having only one source of income, but now I have at least 3 from Abubakar Idris Kunya. So these are some of the comments that we have been getting from our viewers out there. In summary, what do you have to say about how the students are spending?
Well, to the students, actually, I advise them to continue to make maximum use of this opportunity. Of course, it's really bad for them to be staying at home while they were supposed to be in school. But then, since it has happened already, let them engage in any productive venture.
Yeah.
Go to community service, volunteer to any organization. For example, if you are studying in for example, health-related courses, go to hospital and volunteer. Not necessarily on full-time basis. If you are, if you don't have anything to do, go to market, learn some skill, read books, meet other people, get a kind of engage in anything, because after graduation from university, the work may not be readily available for you.
Yes.
So if you learn some skill, if you learn some business, if you learn some vocation, after you graduate from university, you can still hold on to that skill that you have learned to continue to have means of livelihood.
Thank you very much indeed, Malam Aminu Naganye, for being on the show. It's been a pleasure interviewing you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
And I hope you will be able to come back when next we invite you.
Inshallah.
Because of the fact that the 2023 elections are approaching and they are around the corner, and every day new topics are emerging.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. That's the end of the show. On behalf of everyone that has contributed to the production of the program, and the big boss Zainab Abdulrahman, my agogo, I'm Umar Isa Dandago saying good day and have a wonderful day ahead.